Hello, today we discuss Lagrange theorem. In the last class we have seen examples of cosets and cosets form partition. Now we start with the discussion of cardinality of coset and corresponding subgroup. So we start with a group. Let G be a group and H be any subgroup of G, then you can consider cosets of H in G. So we consider one such coset. Let AH be a coset of H in G. If you consider any coset of any arbitrary coset AH of H, now you can easily define a function from this coset or H2. You can define a function phi from G this AH to H, or vice versa. You can definitely define a function from H to H. Then you can easily prove that this function, the definition of this function is phi of AH is equal to H. Okay, for all AH belongs to A capital H. Okay, now you can easily prove that this is a one-one onto function. So as a consequence, we can say that this AH and H have the same cardinality. Okay. So whenever you define this function, first of all you need to prove that this is a function. This map is a function, so that can be easily proven. This is H1 is equal to H2, be two arbitrary elements, then the corresponding images H1 equal to H2. Okay, the corresponding images are the same because of left cancellation. So this implies phi of AH1 equal to phi of AH2. So this proves phi is a function. Now you can prove the one-oneness. For that we assume phi of AH1 equal to phi of AH2. So by definition this implies AH1 equal to AH2. Sorry, H1 is equal to H2. By definition, phi of AH1 is equal to H1 and phi of AH2 is equal to H2 implies AH1 is equal to AH2. When you operate the same thing on both LHS and RHS, you will get the same image. So this implies that phi is a one-one function. Okay. So y is a function, and now we can prove the ontoness of this phi. So for that we assume an arbitrary element H belongs to the codomain, which is H. Then this implies you can consider AH. AH is always a member of AH itself. So this implies phi of AH. So this will be H. Okay, which proves phi is onto. That means cardinality of phi. Okay. Even if it is infinitely many, if this H contains infinitely many elements, then of course H contains infinitely many and vice versa. So cardinality of H is same as cardinality of H. Okay, in a similar fashion you can work with another function, say phi prime. So that's from H to H. That will work this situation as well. So H to H. And the corresponding map will be phi of H is equal to H. Okay, this will also work at this place. So you can consider this as another one-one onto function from or between H and H. So please do it an exercise. You can prove that this is one-one and one-two. Okay, try to explain it as an exercise. So now we can say that every left coset as well as right coset contains the same number of elements of H. Okay, now we can move on to the theorem of Lagrange. So this is theorem 10.10 theorem. This is called theorem of Lagrange. You will be asked to prove theorem of Lagrange, state and prove theorem of Lagrange. So you must be aware of the statement as well. Theorem of Lagrange. Okay, this theorem states that let H be a subgroup of a finite group G. So in this theorem, our hypothesis, we are dealing with finite groups. Okay, so that is very important. Let H be a subgroup of a finite group. So this is very important. Please don't remove this word finite group G. So please note this. This is very important. So please don't remove this one, finite. Okay. So that's a key word in this statement. Let H be a subgroup of a finite group G. Then the order of H. Order means cardinality. Okay. Then the order of H, that is the cardinality, is a divisor of the order of G. That means the cardinality of any subgroup of a finite group divides the cardinality of the corresponding group. Okay, so for this we use the previous ideas. We have already proved that the cossets, distinct cossets from a partition for that whole group G. So if we start with the cardinality of GBN, so we start with, for the proof, let cardinality of G is equal to N and the cardinality of H is equal to M. We start with these two statements. H is equal to M. So obviously H is a subgroup of G. So this implies N is always, or M is always less than or equal to N. Okay, so this is the case. Now we will, the previous discussion shows that every cossets, okay, let set AH, A belongs to G, B the set B, set of all distinct cossets of H in G. Okay, that means if you consider all these distinct cossets, then that form a the set form a partition. So I'll write it as S. Okay, so we can say that this S form a partition for G. Okay, that means if H contains R elements, then we can say that A1H union A2H union etc. union ARH equal to G, where R is the cardinality of S. That is the number of distinct left cossets. Okay, so these left cossets are also called cells. So please note this keyword cells. Cells is used to denote the left cossets or partition, the sets in the partition. Now you can say that since these distinct cossets are disjoint, then the cardinality of G will be equal to cardinality of A1H plus cardinality of A2H plus etc. plus cardinality of ARH. Okay, that is because of the property of partitions. So this is because any AIH intersection AJH is equal to empty for I not equal to J. That means these are disjoint pair is disjoint sets in the partition. Now we know that this cardinality of A1H is same as cardinality of H that you have discussed in the beginning of this class. So we have this is same as cardinality of H plus this is cardinality of H again plus etc plus cardinality of H, and we have assumed that cardinality of H is equal to M. So this will be this is R times. Okay, so this is R times. Now we can write it as R times. Okay, this is R times. Now we write this RHS as R times cardinality of H. So this is equal to R times cardinality of H. So which implies cardinality of G divided by cardinality of H is equal to R, which is the number of distinct left cosets. So this is what we call index of H in G. Okay, in case this index of the subgroup index of H in G and it is denoted by G square bracket G colon H. This is read by index of H in G. Okay, this is equal to this is the R. In case of this, you can write it as R, which is the number of distinct left coset, or you can work with right coset as well. So you can replace this left by right cosets of H in G. Okay, and it is obtained by the formula in case of G's in case of finite groups. This is cardinality of G divided by cardinality of H. Okay, so this proves theorem of Lagrange. Okay, now we can easily get the corollary of this theorem. That is a famous corollary, that is 11.1, which states that every group of prime order cycle, every group of prime order is cyclic. So let me remind you something, the definition of cyclic group. What is cyclic group? Okay, let G be a group if A belongs to G such that the smallest group containing A or the cyclic subgroup generated by A is equal to G, then G is called cyclic. This is the definition of the cyclic group. Okay, you need to get at least one generator. Generator means an element which generates G. Generates means the small subgroup generated, the small subgroup containing that element is that group itself. So if such a exists, then we can say that G is a cyclic group. Okay, now let me come to the definition statement of this corollary. Every group of prime order is cyclic. Okay, so we start with, so this is just a reference, so please remember this result. This is a reference. Okay, now we start with a group. Let G be a group such that cardinality of G is equal to P a prime. We know that a prime number is always greater than or equal to 2. So P is always greater than or equal to 2. Now you choose an element A belongs to G and A not equal to E. So choose a non-identity element in G. Okay, then consider the subgroup generated by A. You know that this is a subgroup of G. So this implies cardinality of the cyclic subgroup generated by A divides the cardinality of G. Okay, but we know that cardinality of G is equal to a prime number. Then what are the possibilities of this cardinality? So this cardinality will be either it will be 1, either this will be 1 or this will be cardinality will be P itself. Okay, so but we can easily rule out this one, because if the subgroup contains only identity element, then this A will be the identity element. Okay, so this subgroup contains at least A. Okay, so this is cardinality is equal to 1 means it has only one element, then that will be equal to identity. So this implies A equal to identity, or this cardinality of A is equal, cardinality of cyclic subgroup generated by A is equal to P. So since this is not possible, we have cardinality of the cyclic subgroup generated by A is equal to P. Okay, so this is nothing but the subgroup contains exactly the same elements of exactly the same number of elements of G, therefore that subgroup itself equal to G. Okay, not only the cardinality, the subgroup itself equals this G. Okay, which shows that G is cyclic. Okay, this implies G is cyclic. So this proves the corollary of Lagrange's theorem. This is a famous corollary. So every group of order prime is cyclic. So for example, if you are asked the give an example, or what are the groups of order 5, so you can say that every group of order 5 is cyclic. So that will be, cyclic groups are classified, we have already discussed that. So every cyclic group of order 5 is isomorphic to Z5. So you can easily say that that is Z5 itself. Okay, now we have two more theorems and one definition after this, so that we will discuss in the next class. Okay, thank you.